Jazakumullah khairan. The Qadi Iyad had a refutation of those verses about traveling where he said, don't travel, because it's not like it used to be. But there's always a difference of opinion. They say if you have 3 imams, you have 4 opinions. And that's true, because some of the imams have 2 opinions in their madhab. Like we have in our tradition, fihi qawlani. And one of my teachers in Mauritania said, the best answer you can give for almost any question is fihi khilaf. There's a difference of opinion. And one of the scholars, he was known to always answer that, and somebody got fed up and said, well, what do you say about God? He said, fihi khilaf. He said, astaghfirullah. He said, well, the Christians say he's 3, the Jews say this, and the Muslims say this. So there's always khilaf. So we have to learn to live with khilaf, difference of opinion. I just looking, unfortunately Imam Siraj is not here. May Allah give him a healing. He got a little ill, but may Allah bless him. He's been such an amazing person in our community. He's been through a lot of tribulation. But I just want to note that your community, even though you're multi-ethnic, it's amazing when we think about our community and our civilizations. The Muslims have always been the most diverse religion in human history. There's no religion that has the diversity that we see just up here on this panel. We have our Syrian brother, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give relief to our Syrian brothers and sisters. They've been through so much suffering, and may Allah open the hearts of people around the world, especially their own Arab brothers in the region, just to open their hearts, to give them refuge. Our Prophet was a refugee, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and all of us should have room in our hearts for the refugees. And then we see people that have, like Imam Afroz, doing amazing work next door to you. I mean, relatively next door. I'm from America, so it's not that far. But Australia, may Allah bless the people there in Australia. I know there's some Aussies here from down under, which if we were using Islamic maps, you would be not down under, but up over. Because Muslim maps always put the south on the top. And the Europeans didn't like being under Africa. And so they actually switched. That's a true fact. Muslims always put Africa was on top, Europe was on the bottom. And تِلْكَ الْأَيَّامُ نُدَاوِلُهَا بَيْنَ النَّاسِ. You never know what happens. But, we have Dr. Omar Abdullah Farouk, one of the giants of American Islam. May Allah bless him. And Imam Zaid Shakir, who's been another just amazing pillar in the American community, but also globally. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless him, increase him, elevate him. He's somebody who I say does more before sunrise than most people do the whole week. Whenever I call him, I say, where are you? He said, I'm on the way to a janazah, or I'm on the way to do, so he's always serving. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala elevate him in his rank. And we're so honored to have our sister Rashida Ali, who in her own right is a champion. It's always difficult to be the child of a great person, but she's clearly a great woman in her own right. And may Allah give her a voice to be heard in many places, because we need the voices of our women. And one of the things that I love about the Malay culture is that the women are so strong. Because I know the real power behind Malaysia. All these amazing volunteers we saw. The men were about 3 or 4, most of them women. And I just want to remind you of who knows Asma bint Yazid al-Ansariya in here? Asma bint Yazid al-Ansari. Not enough people. You should know Wafidatun Nisa. This is a woman that the Sahabiyat chose to go to the Prophet and give her famous statement, asking about the stature of women. And she came and gave an incredible khutbah. in front of the Prophet ﷺ. The women chose her because they knew she was the best one. And they asked her she said to the Prophet, Ya Rasulullah, you came to men and women, and we believed in you and we believed in your God. But we see the men have all these advantages. They have the jama'at, the jumu'ah. They have hajj ba'd al-hajj. They can go on hajj after hajj. They have the umrah. And then, of all things, they have jihad. And she said, we're maqsurat, mahsurat. We're stuck in the homes with our children. And we're deprived of these things. And then she asked him, do we have a portion of what they have? And the Prophet looked smiling at his Sahaba. And he said, did you hear the question of this woman? Have you ever heard a better question about a religion from a woman like this? And the Sahaba were amazed and they marveled at her question. And she said, go back and tell the women that husn taba'ulihinna, that doing what you just described in a beautiful way equals all that the men are doing. That this religion, in the same way that in human history no one, and I challenge somebody to show me anybody in human history that said before our Prophet that there's no difference between an Arab and a non-Arab, and a non-Arab and an Arab. There's no difference between a black and a white, and there's no preference of a black over a white or a white over a black. He went both ways, racism and reverse racism. I challenge anybody who came with that before the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. His religion made men and women equal in stature. His religion made the black and the white equal in stature. This is our Prophet ﷺ, and this is his teaching, and we should be proud of that teaching. So the women of Malaysia, this is your time. Really, we need the women now to really protect and defend this deen, because it's being attacked everywhere. And one of the main areas of attack is this idea that Islam oppresses women. And Malaysia is a good example of where this isn't true. Unfortunately, it's true in some places because of Jahiliyyah, not because of Islam. It's the lack of Islam. Alhamdulillah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you, may Allah forgive us. I want to modify one of my favorite poems by William Meredith. He said that poems are hard to read, and pictures are hard to see, and music is hard to hear, and people are hard to love. And I want to modify that a little bit. Quran is hard to read. Signs are hard to see. Truth is hard to hear, and people are hard to love. But whether from brute need or divine energy, at last, mind, eye, and ear, and that great sloth heart will move. That we all need to wake up to the time that we're living in and recognize we need God more than any other time. We need Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this time. We're confronted with human challenges. For the first time, our biosphere is challenged. We have wars in far too many places with weapons of mass destruction. We have so much abuse. We have domestic violence. We have all of these tribulations. And this is a time when we need Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We need Allah in every time, but in this time, we need people to become awliya. We need people to become awliya of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We need people to become intimate with God so that when they raise their hands, Allah will answer their prayers. And the door that Abdul Qadir al-Jilani said, I looked at all the doors of God and I found they were all crowded except for one door. The door of abasement and humility. I didn't see anybody at that door, and that's the door I went to. We need to be humble before our Lord. As Muslims, we should be humble in this time. We should be humble ourselves. And finally, there's a story about Johad that he used to go across the border, and he brought donkeys, and he had basket and donkeys. Nothing in the baskets. And the custom, he would see him every day bringing this donkey with empty basket. And he was suspicious. he's smuggling something. But he could never find anything. He searched the baskets, the donkey, nothing. So many years later, the custom man retired. He saw Joha and he said, Billahi alayk, I know you were smuggling. Just tell me what you were smuggling. He said, donkeys and baskets. Sometimes the most obvious things are right in front of you and you can't see it. You live in a beautiful country. We've come from distant places and we see how beautiful you are and how beautiful your Islam is. Just appreciate it and give God thanks for it. Jazakum Allah khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you. Brothers and sisters, before we invite Imam Zaid Shaki for the dua, please join me in thanking once again all our speakers for their time, their presence.